Grandma!
Attack of the Demons is a 2019 horror feature set in a pre-internet 90s Barrington. This Eric Power and Andreas Peterson hand-animated horror is like South Park meets some indie game with a Lovecraftian edge wrapped in fuzzy nostalgia. The construction paper-style animation immediately stands out, and the story leans heavily on several charming retro nerd tropes of the 90s. The film's protagonists are three acquaintances from high school who bump into each other when their hometown hosts its famed Halloween bash. But an evil lurks in the nooks, and following the familiar trope of a Lovecraft story, the ancient entity is raised from the depths with a chant. Suddenly, the sleepy town is plagued by an ancient curse, and like any classic teen horror film, it's up to the three protagonists to save the world. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Guys? Could you please...
The director and cast. It's directed by Eric Power, an admirer of the pulpy demon attack horror movies of the earlier century and animations that do it the old way. He meticulously crafts hand-cut animation to make art, short films, and feature-length movies. The Lovecraft meets South Park feature-length animated horror is Power's second venture as a feature-length director, following Path of Blood in 2013. He continues to create, and his most recent work is a documentary that gives us insight into his creative process. Paper Cuts: My Life as an Indie Animator. Helming Andreas Peterson as the writer, the cast consists of Andreas Peterson as Jeff, Katie McGuire as Natalie, Thomas Peterson as Kevin, Eric Power as Chet, and August Sargenti as Stuart. Other minor roles and their actors are as follows: James Hill as Rescue Worker 1, Lauren Hill as Ticket Clerk, Jake Merritt as taxi driver, and Alicia Power as the newscaster. It has been praised as disgusting eye candy, good as fuck stop-motion animation. The unique and masterfully executed animation is worth the price of admission alone, and so on and so on. If the praises didn't convince you already, it's free to stream. But is it worth the time, though? Well, let's talk about it.
Combs. My mission in life is to keep the monsters at bay by any means.
The premise. It's based in 1994. A centuries-old demonic cult has been plotting the destruction of humanity by summoning a Cthulhu-like evil being. It has been banished to the shadows, but now it finally awakens on the night of a Halloween bash in a small Colorado town. The townsfolk and the attendees are turned into a legion of mutating demons, cursed by an ancient ritual. Three misfit-turned-demon hunter friends must stave off the demon apocalypse and face the horror head first. They must be cautious, courageous, and cutthroat to succeed. In the opening scene, we meet a robed cultist busy in his ritual of summoning the ancient evil. The cultist infects and creates the demon when the unsuspecting man chances upon the worshiper of Haberin, King of the Shadows. After that, we cut to a stylish title screen. Then we meet our protagonists. Kevin, a movie lover who decided to stay in town, Jeff, a video game fanatic who came back recently, and Natalie, who's a music nerd. All of them grew up in the town and went to the same school. Natalie moved out after her graduation, but is back with her music journalist boyfriend Chet, who's there to write a piece on the bands performing in the Battle of the Bands. The music, video game, and movie-loving nerds avoided the big event that turned most of the town into monsters. Their hobbies saved them from the crowd, literally. It's a classic teen horror thriller trope where them being misfits work in their favor. Now it's up to them and Jeff's mountain cabin mind-dwelling uncle, another misfit, to save the world from the evil in an Armageddon. They will get help from the Order of the Seraph, the good guys who had been fighting against the evil for centuries, but it won't be much. They're on their own. They'll have to sacrifice and go hardcore against their normal, introverted disposition. The goods. Horror, along with animation, is still a near untapped territory. One can recall a few classics which hit us with this combo: Monster House, Coraline, Paranorman, Corpse Bride, and some Scooby-Doo movies, maybe. But a full-on R-rated animated feature is still kind of a rarity among the rarities. We have some Love, Death, and Robots episodes, sure, but a hand-animated South Park meets The Thing and Color Out of Space demands its due attention. Nightmarish demons, explicit violence, grotesque body horror. The Misfits save the world trope, occasional dry humor. Like, man, it is hard not to be curious about Attack of the Demons. As said before, it's the animation that draws you in. Its analog horror feel will draw in anyone who's a fan of the genre, and it has such a sophisticated style. Again, it can't be stressed enough how meticulous and painstakingly beautiful the movie looks. Every frame is detailed, charming, and surprisingly colorful and poppy in a nostalgic 80s manner for a horror movie. It's like Thor Ragnarok meets Stranger Things meets something by Cronenberg, maybe The Fly, and that's not an easy feat to pull off. The environmental storytelling elements must be mentioned. The world is believable and feels lived in. One instance must be mentioned when the solitary uncle gets into the mine at the beginning of the film and turns on his helmet light. The animation of the orbs of light hitting the camera lens. Chef's kiss. The movement of the demon after it's decapitated. Grab the flamethrower. The movie is such a cute love letter to the horror genre. Director Evan Power said in an interview with Director's Note, "There were numerous cinematic influences ranging from the giallos of the 70s, such as Lamberto Bava's Demons, to the wild no-holds-barred films of the 80s like Reanimator, From Beyond, and The Blob, 1988. Another must-be-mentioned aspect of this movie is its music. You'll surely be adding the score soundtrack to your daily rotation if you're an indie alternative head, and please cut anyone like Nat's music snob boyfriend Chet out of your life. People, don't be Chet, and let people enjoy things, Chet. We have to circle back to the animation again, cause it's that special. Though it may look early season South Park, it's honestly unique in its own way. The movements are surprisingly fluid, the textures palpable, and the ambience cozily nostalgic. Even the gore and the body horror are captivating. The glowy, neon-colored body fluids that turn people into the mindless monster puppets are disgustingly mesmerizing. The bads. Unfortunately, its story, pacing, and subpar voice acting are its Achilles heel. Power and Peterson take a drudgingly long while to get the story going. We meet one character and then another and then another, and they tell how lonely they are and how they're getting the misfit treatment, and then it is repeated and then again. It's probably at the half an hour mark or more of the 70-something minutes long movie that the demons actually attack. The thing it's actually about The writing tries to weave in a dramatic angle, but it falls flat. The emotional moments don't flesh out due to poor dialogue delivery, and the bad mixing of the dub sticks out like a sore thumb. The protagonist's personal conflicts consist too much of the cliched, poor, misunderstood, lonely trope, and the nostalgia factor, which is quite appreciable, is unfortunately very in your face to its detriment. And we were already suffering from nostalgia fatigue at the time of its release. Stranger Things was well out and about, and even that had started to wear itself out. At its core, it does have a nice pulpy movie with an appealing and zany story to tell, but Attack of the Demons fails to translate those concepts into a compelling enough potboiler. The predictable storyline is clunky and slow and way too spatial. The dialogues are quite poor, the acting is amateurish, and Powers' film unfortunately shares many more of these issues with the films it takes inspiration from. The in-betweens. The humor that occasionally shines through is wasted in this movie. The sarcasm of the ticket clerk cum book nerd girl while selling the last ticket of the show, and Chet, Natalie's prick of a music snob boyfriend's commentary on the Gregorian chant-like final act might not make you LMAO, but you can't help but crack a smile. Too bad the movie didn't prioritize this goofy tone and tried a more heavy-handed dramatic route. The indie feel and, again, the layered and detailed animation with the arcade consoles, band posters, the Walkman, you can't help but appreciate all the time, effort, and love that went into its production. The score and the few songs also deserve repeated mention. The characters are surprisingly likable despite it all. The script, though skeletal and cumbersome, still manages to hold it together and even has a twist at the tail. Marvelous verdict. The animation and the naive charm of the movie and the homegrown simplicity of it all can't help but make you appreciate the Attack of the Demons for what it is. Could it be better? A lot. Could it be more tight? Of course. But after all the critiques, it is what it is. A cute, albeit a backgroundy, spooky season movie that deserves some love. And if you care about animation that still does things the old-fashioned way, you have to try it once just to pay respect to the sheer talent and effort behind it all. It may not stand as a marvelous movie, but it does stand as a labor of love. It's kind of a testament to the lo-fi filmmaking. It's a rough around the edges, DIY, lo-fi treat that shouldn't be missed if you care about the craft. Seriously, you should try it, at the very least once, maybe. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.